Next author is Taylor Ward. His piece is Seed. Taylor is 32 and a father of 3. He's going through a divorce at the moment. He also spent 4 years in the Army as a combat medic. Well, you were right. We do have a very diverse group of people here. Vanessa Dempel. Let's see. There she is right there. Hi, Vanessa. It's really cool to put a face with the names of these authors in the pieces we read. Her piece was Once When We Were Young. Vanessa explores her love for words and the desire to describe the world around her, being a German translator by day and an avid reader by night. In finding a language and a voice to speak of her own observations, she represents a collection of short stories that attempt to unravel the endeavor of the human experience.
So this is my first time reading my work in front of people. Thanks for being here. So once when we were young. Once when we were young, we did not know that we would grow old. Life was an endless stretch forward into eternity in which all things were possible. You wanted to be a firefighter when we grew up, so I would let you save me from the house engulfed in make-believe flames. From the upstairs window, I would yell, "Save me!" You would bolt up the stairs, carry me down. Rather, I would hold your hand as you led me down, and once outside, we would jump for joy. I'd always volunteer to be saved because I imagined that after bringing me out into the light of day, you would turn around and kiss me on the cheek like a hero. But that never happened. You chose instead to run to get the garden hose and spray the house and me with the jet setting. Once when we were young, we allowed ourselves to wander and figure things out along the way. Marching into the woods, you would always take the lead beyond the boundary we were not supposed to cross. Each time we ventured further until one day I realized that we had been walking for some time and the woods no longer seemed recognizable to me. I suggested we go back, to which you pleaded that we continue further, just a little bit. When we did finally turn around, we both realized that we were lost and had no way of recognizing the way home. We ran in all directions, and after what felt like many hours, we found the way out of the woods once more. Later, you swore you had known the way all along and at no point felt lost. Once when we were young, we had no notion of regret or wasting time. Everything captured our attentions, and if it didn't, we moved on to the next thing. When the new girl in the neighborhood, Krista, came to play with us, I knew her golden skin and shiny hair would immediately take all of our attentions, especially yours. She spoke with a weird accent because she was from Alabama, drawing out her R's and A's for what I absolutely believed was a little too long. She was good at all the things, especially throwing balls and capturing the toads that most of the other boys couldn't even catch. I watched her and tried to follow her mannerisms, copied her coy indifference that she showed adults telling us what to do. You fell for her, body and soul, and would profess your love proudly to anyone who asked. Except for me. With me, you would still show an interest, like a mouse led into a cage with a not quite hungry snake. Once when we were young, we thought we could do anything with our bodies. Back bends, running, jumping, splits, flying through the monkey bars with our gangly limbs flailing. I would strut in front of you with my gymnastics moves, hula hooping, and grand gestures of seduction. I never thought you took notice of me because usually you were caught up in a show of adolescent masculinity parades with the Grayson boys from across the street. One day, alone in the basement den downstairs, you did pay attention to me. You asked to see my private parts, and when you said you would show yours first, I squeamishly took off my shirt and then my pants. You asked if you could touch me, and again I obliged, because you were 2 grades older than me and I presumed you knew what you were doing. Your hands felt foreign as they prodded. I didn't like the feeling at all, and I told you. Still you went on and left me with an eerie sensation I was unable to stop feeling for some time after. Once when we were young, we thought the world was a massive place and our lives a huge discovery. Every experience, like ripe, low-hanging fruit, was ready to be had. At first, you started sneaking the alcohol in your parents' liquor cabinet, refilling vodka bottles with water and rum bottles with Coke. You would bring over the booze and try to convince us to partake while bragging about how drunk you were already. And the day that someone casually took out a bag of weed with a pipe, you eagerly took part as I watched you inhale and your excitement grow greater. Being witness to your excitement so many times before, and for much of my life, I had chased that feeling with you. But this time I was scared for you, or maybe I was scared of you. We were so young. Why try to become adults so quickly? Why try to be so cool? Since when did we have to fit in and be so cool? Once when we were young, we believed we were indestructible. We had our whole lives ahead of us, only a short time behind us. We didn't worry about death or loneliness. Our adult years sprawled ahead of us, promising change and self-ownership. So when you moved from smoking weed to swallowing pills, I thought maybe you would grow out of this and surely you would rejoin us someday. But you did not. Years later, you started selling, and then you started stealing. You never came back to be the boy I had once known when we were so very young. Once when we were young, there was no pavement to pound other than the soft footing of our sneakers hitting the concrete as we ran in no direction at all. We were never shy about not knowing the answer. We asked questions deliberately. Is milk made of water? How far can I run before my legs quit? I had looked all around me for the answers and the direction to follow. For years, I'd looked to you to lead me. Now I realize, through your failings, you were the one that taught me that I was my own best guide, and by way of time and experience, I contain within me the multitude of answers.